Hi, I'm Manny Fitzsimmons. I'm your Washington Realtors Legal Hotline lawyer. And in this episode, we are going to answer this question. How many home sale contingent buyers can stack up in a single transaction? Here's the fact pattern. Seller has sold their home to a home sale contingent buyer. That home sale contingent buyer asks the seller for permission to sell to another home sale contingent buyer. And the seller says yes. The seller consents. And so now seller's buyer, home sale contingent buyer, has sold buyer's property to another home sale contingent buyer. And then the fact pattern goes on. That home sale contingent buyer sells to another home sale contingent buyer. And when that second buyer sells to a home sale contingent buyer, whose consent does that second buyer need? Does the second buyer need the the original seller's consent? Nope. That second buyer only needs their buyer's consent to this home sale transaction, to this home sale contingency transaction. So second buyer sells to a home sale contingent buyer, and so on, right? And we could have 5, 6, 7 home sale contingent buyers all stacked up in a single transaction, and the statewide forms allow that. And it all happened because seller consented to the first buyer, to the first home sale contingent buyer selling to another home sale contingent buyer. And that's the lesson of this episode. Listing brokers, your sellers must be intentional in any consideration of whether or not they will allow their Form 22B home sale contingent buyer to sell to another home sale contingent buyer. Because once the seller consents to the seller's home sale contingent buyer selling to a second home sale contingent buyer, the floodgate is open and seller loses all control over what happens after that. And so listing brokers, make sure that you have properly educated your seller when their home sale contingent buyer asks for permission of seller to sell to another home sale contingent buyer. Help your seller to understand where this can lead. Now, in the alternative, the seller may have a home sale contingent buyer who can't sell their home. And so that's the push that's the tension in this question for the seller is, do I want to consent so that my buyer can get their house sold and hopefully we can move on down the road and ultimately get our transaction closed? That question versus the risk associated with, but what if there is this whole leapfrog effect then of home sale contingent buyers once I, as the seller, consent? Listing brokers, you have to understand that dynamic of seller allowing a home sale contingent buyer in their transaction and then consenting to that buyer's request for permission to sell to their own home sale contingent buyer. If you have questions on this topic or any other, please visit warealtor.org and follow the links to the Legal Hotline. Thank you for being a Washington Realtors member.